It's game day, Seminole fans, and it's one of the greatest rivalries in all of college football, Florida State versus Miami. We've got your three keys to victory. Let's start with number one, offensive line versus defensive line. I think Florida State's offensive line, people were fairly pleased after Alabama, but after the NC State game, Wake Forest game, fans maybe not quite as happy. Miami's defensive line, again, another great group to go against. Florida State's got to win some matchups here.
They do, and I think back to what Jimbo Fisher said earlier this week in his Monday press conference. It's a comment. He was asked about what the issues were against Wake Forest. Sometimes it was a communication issue, sometimes it was a technique issue, and other times the Wake Forest guys just made a play. Sometimes you just get beat, and that happens. No matter what the case, though, and Jimbo said this, was those guys have to get better. They have to improve, and they know it. It's not like that they don't know that there's room for improvement, and they need to start winning some of those matchups. And look, like we said all along, this season, really the start of this season, Florida State has played some of the best defensive lines in the country between Alabama, NC State, Wake Forest, maybe a little bit better than people were expecting, and then Miami, who coming into the season, folks were expecting to be one of the better defensive fronts in the country. It's going to be a challenge, but it's one that Florida State, you have to rise up and meet it. And these are the types of games where you maybe try to dig a little bit deeper and find something that maybe you didn't think was there before to give your running back that extra half a second or give you that quarterback an extra half a second to make a play that can maybe swing the game. So yeah, I think that's one thing that everybody's going to be watching on both sides is that lineup or that matchup up front.
Key number two, making a big special teams play. I mean, I think people might forget because a couple of the big catches in this game, Auden Tate's touchdown and Gavin's big third down conversion. But Keith Gavin made a huge special teams play that really brought a lot of life into Florida State in the second quarter of that Wake Forest game.
Yeah, it really is remarkable what can happen in a game like that where maybe the offense is having a hard time moving the chains. You get a big return, get good field position. All of a sudden, things just start to click a little bit better. And I think back to Derwin James' kick return at the start of the game was called back from a penalty. But looking at the replay, I don't know that it was an egregious penalty. So it seemed like the kind of play that you could just as easily have counted. And if that happens, who knows if that game's even closer at all. It's nothing like a 100-yard kick return to start a game. So, yeah, I think special teams and having that advantage, it just makes things that much easier to know that, A, you're probably going to have good field position. B, the other team might not have good field position. And C, in the kicking game where Ricky Aguayo has been fantastic over the last two games, to have confidence that that's going to be maybe in your favor as well. So it just kind of makes everything a little bit easier, raises everybody else up. And certainly we know in the history of the Florida State-Miami game, special teams are often in the spotlight.
Really? Special teams
here
in
and there.
the Florida State-Miami?
I know. Yeah, do some reading between now and the game, huh?
I guess I'll have to. Block at the Rock, I guess.
Hey, that was a good one.
And then we go to key number three. Everyone talks about James Blackman being that young freshman quarterback. I mean, Malik Rozier is a senior, but he's only going to be making his fifth start of his career, and obviously the biggest of his career this weekend.
Absolutely right. Look, he's looked good in those three games, but you're talking about a home game against Bethune-Cookman, a home game against Toledo, and a road game at Duke. And I don't mean any disrespect to any of those teams, but the atmosphere, the hostile atmosphere that he's going to be facing today at Doak Campbell Stadium is going to be unlike anything that he's faced as a starting quarterback before. So you want to make him uncomfortable. That means Derek Nottie, DeMarcus Christmas, Josh Sweat, Brian Burns, getting in his face, getting your arms up, that sort of thing, getting your hits in when you can, getting trying to get those sacks and tackles for loss. And it also means, look, the atmosphere at the stadium, the noise, the intensity, the energy, the environment, all the things that make it hard for opposing quarterbacks, especially when they're not as experienced. That's what Florida State needs to have in its favor today.
There you have it, Seminole fans. There's your three keys to victory as Florida State takes on Miami. We'll have everything you need post-game as well. Tim will have his analysis, and we'll have highlights, video recap, and you'll hear from players and head coach Jimbo Fisher as well. So for Tim, I'm Lane. Enjoy one of the best rivalries in college football. Go Noles.